Hi, my name is David. I own and operate Country Whatnot Gardens here outside of Rochester, Indiana, which is an hour south of the Michigan state line. And I'm putting gloves on right now because I'm going to be working with my Dwarf Alberta Spruce. They are naturally a conical shrub, and I prefer to keep mine more rounded as a Japanese style called Tamamono. And I've had these bushes for about 24 years, and every year they get this treatment between late winter and early spring. So these are not something you use on Dwarf Alberta Spruce. You don't want to do that, because let me get an example here. I'm going to take a piece of this one just off camera. Now, I removed this. This was an attempted new leader on the bush that is holding my camera right now. Now, if I come across here with these, I'm slicing through individual needles. I'm slicing through foliage. The tips of those needles are going to turn brown, and you're going to have needles that fall on the surface of your bush, and you don't want that. I'll explain why as I go. Now, so these are out. Don't use these. Also, don't use powered pruners either, in my experience. And you could use a pair of ratcheted regular garden pruners or rose pruners, I suppose. But these are concave cutters. These are carbon steel. They were made in Japan. The brand is Joshua Roth. I've had these for the better part of 30 years, probably going on 28 years at least. And they are sharp. They've had, I think, 2 sharpenings during their lifetimes, and they still meet up, which is important. And they've been real good tool. Their brand is Joshua Roth, and they're carbon steel. You can get stainless steel ones too, but these were the more entry level. These are just carbon steel. So I'm going to go remove some leaders, and I'll explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it. So I'm going in here, and I'm not shearing off the top like you would shear most bushes. Now, to trim Tamamono of boxwood, flowering quince, cinnamales, euonymus, so forth, use taxus. You would go along here in an arc with pruners like these, or powered pruners. You would go in an arc. You would move in an arc across one face of the bush, and then you would spread out across the rest of the bush, and that would help you keep a round form. Not so with Dwarf Albertas. These have a very thin shell of foliage on the outside. I don't know if you see in there or not. That's just the plant's scaffold in there. And then the live portion is over it. So you're not going to shear off the top. You'd shear off your live stuff. So what I'm doing is I'm going in here, and I'm finding the individual portion that wants to become a new leader, and I'm only removing that, like so. I'm going actually down in the bush and removing it. The part I'm looking for when I go in there and remove it is I'm separating limbs, and I'm looking here, and I'm finding a spot like this down in between the branches, and I'm snipping that portion, so that I end up with a cut like this between forks, so that this tissue can roll over this here and heal. And this concave cut aids with that. It helps that tissue roll in versus it being a flat cut. And it helps it roll in without scarring or anything funky going on like that. So I'll go in and I'll remove this in various spots where it's attempting to make new leaders. And one thing I have found that's a quirk about these bushes that I have not been able to find the details of it online is that if I leave a piece of this lay on this bush like this, and I come back a few days to a week later, this darn sucker here has caused a big brown spot on the surface of my bush. They seem to have an aversion to touching each other, or even a piece of themselves that's been trimmed and left lay. So when I trim these, I make sure that I don't leave even a tiny piece, even not a piece like that, but even just a tiny piece. I don't even leave a tiny piece lay. If I'm going to be doing much work on these, I'll often bring just a regular house broom out with me. And when I'm done with my trimming, I'm sorry I don't have a broom with me right now, but let's pretend these are a broom, and this is your broom head. That's your straw end, right? I'll beat the bush to get the loose stuff off of it. And you want to hit the bush in an upward angle on the upward swing. I feel like I'm doing golf here. You'll swing it, you'll follow through, and you'll hit the bush on an upward swing, because if you hit it on the downward swing, you're going to separate your branches down like this, and you could snap them off of there. So you don't want to do that. Now, I don't know the scientific wherefores and what-fors on them causing part of themselves to die out like that. But it's been my experience, because I've done this to these bushes every year for the past 24 years. And you don't want to remove much, because keep in mind, these only put on 2 or 3 inches of growth every year. They're real slow. So it could be that if you remove too much at once, they might not recover from it. So all I'm doing is going down in here. I'm not removing off the top. I'm going down actually in the bush and removing anything that's trying to grow upward and become a new leader, because I'm trying to keep these more rounded. And you might say, why would you struggle with keeping a bush round that wants to be a natural cone shape when you could just get a bush that grows round on its own? And to that I say, I used to have bird's nest spruce. I had them for about a year or year and a half before the deer and rabbits completely killed them off. And I did also try the traditional plant in Japanese gardens for Tamamono shaped shrubs is azalea. And I tried azalea here. I even amended my soil, but they weren't happy. And the one that was sort of making its way in the world here in the garden and surviving, the deer destroyed. So sometimes it comes down to a choice of, well, I want a Tamamono. Boxwood does so here. I do have several, but they have hit or miss winter damage occasionally. And I don't get winter damage here on the Dwarf Alberta Spruce bushes. So even though they're not native to Japan, I did settle on using them just because I already have yew bushes and I wanted a slightly different color and texture. Japanese gardens are mostly, not all, mostly about shades of green, varying shades of green, creating your landscape and your plant palette out of different greenery. And then, of course, your seasonal interest plants are your quince, your flowering cherries, your maple trees for fall interest, and various things like that. Then are intermingled amongst your greenery. So I went with Dwarf Alberta Spruce for those reasons. And now you can see that bush is much more rounded up top. I haven't removed a lot. There's not really any bare spots. But again, I am removing more than just what's sticking up. Because if you look at the bush and you picture a semicircle up over it, you would ordinarily, you just take your shears, if you was talking about a yew or a boxwood or something, and remove whatever's sticking up above that to keep it manicured. But with these, I come in and I go down inside the bush and I remove it a little bit extra. And it seems to work to help keep these round instead of being their natural conical shape. I mean, it's in their name, Picea, glauca, Conica. So I think that's going to do it for that bush. I'll take the camera over and I'll show the top of it that I didn't remove too much here. Right at the top there. See, there's no big massive holes because I went down inside there and I just removed those and pulled them out. Now, let's see, down there's some that I removed. Let's see, here somewhere. Where am I at? There we go. There's some clippings there by the rock that I removed. Over here, here's some I threw over here. So I removed a good bit, but not a massive amount in the scope of the entire bush. And then we've got another one over here that I did previously, and you can see what a nice rounded form it's got now. I've only got just a couple more to go to trim, and I'll have these done. I don't have a terrible amount of them out here. But when I got these, they were 1 gallon plants many years ago. And the first thing I did when I got them was I topped them. And I've been doing that every year since. I've been penalizing, so to speak, penalizing the top of the bush while allowing the sides to grow. And you can see behind me, our rain has moved out, like I was talking about in a past video. And I said as soon as the rain moved out, I thought these leaves would curl. This is Phyllosteches nuda. See how they curled up? They were giving a kind of a deceptive reading the other day with the rain. The rain had them opened back out and making them look like they weren't really desiccated, aside from a little bit of splotchy color. But you can see now that it's curled. Now, some of the bamboo out here is doing this, and some hasn't yet. And some has to yet in the future, I'm sure, as time goes here. And I'll be doing more bamboo updates, just to let you know. I haven't forgot. Okay, now here is a younger Dwarf Alberta Spruce there. That's been there for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. I got that as, I think, a 3 gallon. And first thing I did when I got it was I topped it. It was pyramidal. I topped it, and now the little feller is round. So that can be done. They can get mites. Mites not been a real big problem here. If they do get mites, catch them early and wash the bush down with either a miticide, or I like Dawn dish soap. Dawn dish soap seems to just suffocate them. Dilute a little bit of Dawn dish soap in some water and spray on them. I just used a watering can. And you can use neem oil. If you use neem oil, apply it either at dusk or on a cloudy day, because if you apply neem oil in the sun, it will sun scorch your plants. And my understanding is neem oil doesn't right out kill the mites. It interrupts their breeding cycle. I believe. I could be wrong. But anyway, that has been a look at what you do if you want Tamamono bushes and you can't grow any various things because of deer. Now, deer don't bother them for me. It might be different if you have different higher deer pressure in your area, depending on what wild food's available to them. But they don't bother them here. And here, while I'm talking about them touching each other, these two actually are planted close together, but they're actually not quite touching. I maintain, through pruning, I maintain a line down through there. So they're not quite touching. But yet, if you look at them from down the path here, look at them from this angle, or if you go down the path here and you look at them from this angle, see, they make a nice, almost continuous little arrangement there, but they're not actually touching. Because again, I found that if they touch each other, they die out in that spot. And you don't want that. And the bamboo is easier to trim out of these than the flowering quince there, because the Dwarf Alberta Spruce are single trunked. They've got just one. I don't know if I can get down in there and show. I probably can't get down there and show. But they do have just one trunk. And they're shallow rooted too. The roots tend to go across the ground a little bit. I can't get in there with the trunk. I'm sorry. They've got a good sized trunk. Can I peek in this way? There's some bamboo growing in that one. A little bit, a few leaves right there. There they are. Right there. They show them. It can hide in there. but it's not a big deal. And it's real easy to remove since it's just got the one trunk. But anyway, that has been a look at Dwarf Alberta spruces, and trying to get my glove off of here. Sorry about the camera jar there. I look at them, and like I say, if you want to try Tamamono style bushes, and you've already used yews, and you've used boxwood, and you've tried azaleas, and maybe the deer are eating your azaleas, or you don't have the right soil for it, and you need a different shade of green or different texture of foliage to go with the yews or with the boxwood, and you don't know what to use, give Dwarf Alberta Spruce a shot. They won't grow down in the southeast where it's super hot, but they will grow up north here. And they have made a very nice bush, I think, together with the bamboo back there. And they just add a little something. To keep them in an Asian type appearance with a Japanese Tamamono form, it does take a little bit of work, but I think it's well worth it. Because a Christmas tree shape with bamboo, to me, just doesn't fit. Doesn't fit the garden, doesn't fit the look. Maybe you'd like it. If that's your deal, then do what you like. But for me, I like them. I like them. I like their rounded form. You can see even my flowering quince bush right there that's currently in its leafless dormant state is kept roughly Tamamono form. So if you don't mind a little bit of trimming once a year or so, maybe Dwarf Alberta Spruce are for you. But anyway, I appreciate you stopping by again, and I hope you had fun, because I always have fun in the garden. And if you liked it, please like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, take care, and thank you for stopping by.